Welcome into Marketology for Monday, March 12th. March Madness is upon us, and we have just the guy to talk to on the other side of the counter, Vice President of CG Technology, Matthew Holt. Matt, what's up, man? Welcome in.
Hey, Drew. Oh, my goodness. What a week. March Madness is certainly upon us, and we're as busy as can be.
Man, I couldn't imagine. So is this the busiest week of the whole calendar year, or would you say Super Bowl's more, or anything else that off the top of your head?
Oh, this is way bigger than Super Bowl. To put it into perspective, we'll do 3 times as much handle and 4 times as many bets on the first 4 days of March Madness than we do in the Super
Damn. So definitely the bigger spectacle and the whole March Madness, I guess it is the kind of biggest sports betting spectacle in the country, right?
Oh, certainly. For the books, it's by far the biggest. And, you have so many games every day and people are so excited and there's so many wagering opportunities with the futures and all the different props, all the different in-game. And, you have that full 9 a.m. Pacific time till basically midnight Pacific time, nonstop action, and people just go crazy for it.
Absolutely. And what about handicapping the other type of tournaments? Like the NIT and CBI. Are you getting after those just as hard?
No, and unfortunately, we probably don't, right? And there's not nearly as much wagering action on them. And you'd be surprised, like these games today. We already have 2 games in the books today, and we've done minimal handle on both of them. Our average per game handle will be close to 7 figures for every single game in the NCAA tournament in the first round, regardless of the 2 teams playing. Yet these games going on right now in the CIT, we're lucky if we do, 5-10 grand handle total on them.
In your past performance, something that just came to my head. Do you notice like the 1 versus 16 matchup will get less handle or maybe more handle than maybe say the 8-9 matchup or anywhere in between?
No, always less. The 1 versus 16s are always some of the most least wagered on games of the first rounds. It tends to be the 8, 9, 7, 10s, but as we've seen in recent years too, the 6-11 matchups, the 5-12 matchups, those matchups are really good. We have one this year. We look at like Miami versus Loyola Chicago. It's a 2-point spread. So what they like is closer spreads, manageable spreads. Picking winners is fun for everybody. What they don't want to do is start laying 20 plus points, and that's usually reserved for the 116 matchups. Sometimes the 215s as well.
Yeah, man. What about this year in the 12-5 the 12-5 matchup? That New Mexico State game that kind of popped off the chart at me. Are you taking any action on the Aggies?
Let me see where we're at there. New Mexico State
Versus Clemson?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. Let me grab the game number. That'll make it easier.
Okay, yeah, I'll get game numbers for you. Hey guys, we got some guys coming in the chat right now. SBR Forum, I believe that's Drew. What's up, man? New here at SBR, cool guy controlling the forum. He's got a question. I like Penn to surprise KU. Any opinion? Do you have any opinion on that? That's a 116 matchup, right, Matt?
Yeah, it is. We actually debated on that quite a bit. We thought that Penn actually should have been a 15, and I think you could have made a case that they're probably better than Cal State Fullerton, maybe a couple of the 15 seeds, but especially Cal State Fullerton. I think you could certainly, at least if nothing else, make that case. I don't know that they're going to surprise. I mean, what are we saying surprise? They're going to cover the spread. They're going to cover the 15 points. I mean, 14.5 is actually really low for a 116 matchup. So it shows that Penn probably was underseeded a bit in this tournament. They probably should have been a 15. Maybe you could have even stretched it a bit and said they should have been a 14, but they certainly shouldn't have been a 16, as you could tell by the 14.5 spread versus one of the number 1 seeds.
Matt, in that New Mexico State game, that was 8-9-1, 8-9-2 New Mexico State Clemson. Looks like you guys got Clemson hanging 5, 133 the total.
Yeah, it looks like we're actually getting really good two-way on it. Less than $220 total, separating the handle on both teams right now with a slight lean toward New Mexico. So, both on account by sharp players and over the counter. The action's pretty split on this one. Look, Clemson's a team that had to deal with some injuries, but has played really good basketball in one of the toughest conferences there is. So we'll see. New Mexico State had another tremendous record playing in the WAC, but I think without question, the WAC's one of the worst conferences. I mean, when you're playing Grand Valley and Seattle and Chicago State, I mean, there's literally zero competition for New Mexico State now in the WAC. So they're a really difficult team to be able to get a good gauge on.
And Matt, I know you said, you know, the NIT, the CBI don't get nearly as much handle, so you're not concentrating on them as much. But one question we got was, how much are you factoring in the travel into these games? For instance, Northern Kentucky's just doing a 90-minute bus ride to Louisville for their NIT matchup. Whereas on the other hand, we got Ryder. They're going from Newark, New Jersey to Portland, Oregon. Bus rides on both sides of that flight, if not flights. So, you know, way different travel in some of these cases. How much are you concentrating on that?
Yeah, the NIT is a really difficult tournament to wager on. Most tournaments, even the CIT and CBI, although there's some travel issues, TV issues, home court issues. You know, this morning myself, I played Central Michigan plus 5.5 and plus 200 on the money line against IPFW because everyone, you know, despite the fact that it was a true road game, there's like 15 people in the arena because who's going to watch IPFW Central Michigan at 11 a.m. local time, 9 a.m. Pacific time? It just doesn't really happen. So, look, we certainly factor in travel, but we also have to factor in a lot of other issues in the NIT, and one of them is motivation. Look, historically, the number one seeds in the NIT and even number two seeds a lot of times don't perform well because they're the teams that just missed on the NCAA tournament, and the motivation between playing in the NCAA tournament and playing in the NIT, especially for Power 5 conference schools, is immense. And, you know, trying to gauge motivation is difficult. When you don't know how hard any of the teams are trying, it's really difficult to handicap games. Just think how hard preseason football is to handicap sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, in that opinion, making it hard to handicap, it's also hard to put out a number for your side of the counter. So do you think kind of in a situation where there's a lot of games, you have to concentrate on all of the games? It maybe gives an edge to the bettors to concentrate maybe on just a couple games where they can find an edge, kind of like what you're talking about?
Sure. And what you will notice is, look, once these NCAA tournament game numbers settle, they tend to not move a real lot once they've been settled because there's going to be so much handle on both sides of every game. You know, when you have tons of liquidity and you're taking all these big bets, then the numbers tend to not move a lot. What you will see is aggressive moves on these NIT, CIT, CBI games because there's not as much handle. There's not as much known information, and there's more unknown variables that go into the game. So when you start seeing big, sharp bets pile up on one side, you'll see a line move much more aggressively than it would in an NCAA tournament game.
And Matt, what about the rules changes, like moving back the 3-point line, also making, I believe, the lane wider, and going to 4 quarters, I believe, in the NIT. And it looks like one thing I noticed across the board from the openers to the current line, every game is kind of getting bet to the over. Have you noticed anything there?
Yeah, I mean, look, in theory, the games are supposed to be a little bit quicker paced, but the 3-point line is going to actually be a slightly longer. So, you know, it's difficult to make what exactly is going to happen here. What you don't want to do is overreact to rules changes that, you know, you don't really know how they're going to go yet. The only change of shot clock is on an offensive rebound. And on an offensive rebound, normally the defense and the offense are both set in the half court anyway. And normally it's either an immediate putback by the player or a reset. So now they'll have less time on the reset. And it may affect the end of game situation too if you get an offensive rebound. But really, I don't think the pace of play itself is going to change a lot looking at these rules changes, and I would be a little hesitant to overreact to the rule changes this year.
Hey Matt, we got a couple more questions here in the chat box. We got Trenton Claxton asking what you think about Liberty. I guess that's the next game on the board, 5-13, 5-14, North Carolina A&T versus Liberty. Do you have anything in this game? If not, we can just pass.
No, it's a little bit of a difficult game. And for the first time here, maybe today, what we are seeing is action on the favorite. We did see that there was a little bit of Central Michigan money early, that there was a little bit of Abilene Christian money against Drake. Of course, both underdogs got there. Abilene Christian lost in overtime, but still covered. C-Mich won outright as a dog. Here, for the first time, we're starting to see a little bit of favorite money here. Look, Liberty, that conference is known for its scoring. So if nothing else, if you're going to lay a big number, you have a team that can score a lot of points. I'm still hesitant to lay big numbers in these tournaments. The one thing that's been consistent in the CIT again this year thus far, no defense in any of the games. 183 points scored in regulation in the Central Michigan game, 153 in the Drake game. Both totals flew over. Although it took the Drake game overtime to get there. There's been plenty of points, and these teams don't see as motivated to grind it out on the defensive side in these CIT games.
Yeah, it's a way looser atmosphere in some of these lower tournament games. We also have Tomar in the chat box asking, I don't understand why the books have so little respect for Rhode Island. Rhode Island was good enough to beat Oregon last year. I guess maybe one thing off the top of my head would be last year. Mark Lathrop also adding in Rhode Island is undersized. Matt, anything on the 5-2-3, 5-2-4 Oklahoma-Rhode Island matchup? It looks like you guys got 1.5, 158 the total?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. And one of the things you have to understand, similar to the Super Bowl, is March Madness brings in a massive wave of bettors who at least a certain percentile, let's say 25% of the bettors, and I don't know what the exact number is going to be, but it's a big number, similar to the Super Bowl. There's going to be a certain percentage of bettors who bet on March Madness basketball games who have not placed one single college basketball wager all year until March Madness. So who's the most popular teams? They carry a higher weight than they normally would. One of the more popular teams is Oklahoma because Trae Young is one of the most talked about players. He's the highest scoring player in the entire tournament. He's one of the most popular tournaments. He's probably a future first round draft pick. He's getting a lot of love. So the simple fact that people walking in off the street who've only watched a couple of shows on ESPN about college basketball, they've heard Oklahoma's name a bunch of times, they've heard Trae Young's name, and they may not be as familiar with Rhode Island. And, it'll be interesting to see how this matchup went. And another way to look at this game is, Oklahoma was terrible in their conference play in the Big 12, one of the toughest conferences, especially on the road where they failed to win a road game in 2018. But what they were really good at it was the non-conference play. I mean, Oklahoma didn't lose a game until Christmas this year. So all of a sudden, basically, this is non-conference play again. You're not playing this Big 12 brutal gauntlet schedule anymore. You can kind of consider the NCAA tournament non-conference play. And, of course, Oklahoma comes in with a ton of negative momentum right now. But look, Rhode Island could also be fatigued a little bit. Teams that go all the way to Sunday and play in their conference tournaments and lose historically don't make the best runs in the NCAA tournament because of the fatigue factor.
Tomar also replying, Rhode Island returned most of their team from last year. I guess on my comment, I said that was last year. So no, good point, Tomar. Didn't mean to throw that down. Also, we have a question from Drew here. I have UVA, Michigan State in the final game with UVA winning the tournament here. Any opinion on that, Matt? And also, you want to touch on anything futures wise? Any action you guys are taking to win the whole thing?
Well, I could tell you a couple of teams that are starting to get a little more love, and the first one is the Arizona Wildcats, and I've been playing them for about a month now, and I love the fact that Sean Miller refuted and any of those allegations against him. DeAndre Ayton is fully eligible. Alonzo Trier fully regained his eligibility, and this team feels like a mission team right now. They played with a chip on their shoulder throughout the entire Pac-12 tournament. Their defense is unbelievable, the way they play defense in the second half of these games. And DeAndre Ayton is the best player in college basketball right now. Alonzo Trier can shoot threes. You have a real point guard in Parker Jackson Cartwright. Raleigh Atkins is probably another NBA player. This Arizona team was preseason ranked #1 for a reason, because they have the most talent, or at least as much talent as any team in the country. Yet their early season slid with Trier having Alonzo Trier be missing all those games for eligibility issues and then all the distractions around all the allegations. This team had a really tough run in non-conference and then to start conference play, but they are finishing with a bang and playing with a chip on their shoulder right now. And if I was the Virginia Cavaliers, I would watch out for that Sweet 16 or Elite 8 matchup with the Arizona Wildcats if they get there. On the other side, I get the Michigan State factor. The problem is they have an unbelievable pick'em showdown with Duke in the Sweet 16. And look, there's some stumbling blocks along the way for both teams, but that game versus Duke's a pick'em, period. So, I mean, they're a 50-50 there. I think if they get through that, they're probably another pick'em against Kansas. So basically Michigan State had a double pick'em versus Kansas, pick'em versus Duke. But that's a tough bracket. I mean, think of the teams in that region: Kansas, Duke, Michigan State, Auburn. There's some really good teams in the Midwest this year. I think Michigan State's the most popular pick by far. But at this point, they're going to bet Michigan State to be the favorite and to win the Midwest. There's so many good teams in there. I might look elsewhere just for the value's sake, but it's hard to argue that Michigan State's the best team on paper.
Yeah, that was a good opinion there by SBR Drew there. He's also putting in enter our March Madness contest, $5,000. Just check out on SBR.com or sportsbookreview.com the contest tab, giving away $5,000 to I believe not just the first place prize, but also if you get second or third, you'll be eligible for prize money as well. So make sure to check that out. Matt, also you bring up Arizona betting for futures. Do you notice, because of their location, I know that there's a lot of Arizona Wildcats in Las Vegas from personal experience actually. Do you get more bets on, say, Arizona, even Arizona State, in this play-in game because of the location?
We certainly get proximity bets. And Arizona, obviously, if you've ever been here for a Pac-12 tournament, it might as well be Tucson. It might as well be McHale Center because it is heavy Arizona-centric, even against UCLA. And I was at that game, too, and it was probably 90%, 10% in favor of Arizona. It was just unbelievable there in the arena. So you're right. We certainly tend to get a bias toward regional bias like anyone else would. It doesn't show itself as much in basketball because I don't know that there's as many good West Coast teams, but we take plenty of action on UCLA, probably more action than UCLA's actual value in the tournament. Gonzaga, always super popular here in Vegas, coming from the West Coast. And Arizona, yeah, you're right. We certainly see some Arizona regional bias here.
And Matt, you bring up the proximity bets. Arizona people, Gonzaga people. I know a lot of friends coming from the East Coast as well. If people are in Las Vegas this weekend or for the Elite 8 weekend, anything like that, you guys are running a special there at CG Technology, right? $68 if you sign up on the account.
Yeah, the special's just for Nevada residents this week. It's a $68 bonus for Nevada residents only. Just trying to give back to the locals a little bit. Everyone tries to do 25 or $50. We figured $68. It's the number of the teams in the tournament, and it's a little more than a lot of the other folks in town are giving out. So, just trying to give back to our locals a little bit.
All right, cool. So if you're a local Nevada resident, check that out at a CG Technology book. $68 into the account when you sign up. Matt, anything you want to kind of throw out there before we shut this down, March Madness betting?
Look, it's going to be a big week this week. And, if you like certain teams, what I always tell people is don't just bet a team to win it all. If you like Arizona, then why not take a shot? Arizona to win the South, Arizona to win it all, Arizona in the games. There's a lot of different ways to bet these games. We're going to have player to score the most points on Thursday, player to score the most points Friday, team to score the most points. They're similar to the Super Bowl. The amount of props and wagering opportunities are unbelievable. So take a certain amount of your bankroll, dedicate it toward props, and make sure you spread out the money and have a good time.
So Matt, you can bet on what team is going to score the most points on any given day?
That's right. We'll have what team will score the most points Thursday, what team will score the most points Friday, what player will score the most points Thursday, player to score the most points Friday, and then all the regular props you're used to. Will a number 16 seed win a game? Will a 15 seed win a game? So on all the way down. Team versus team to advance the furthest, all kinds of fun stuff.
So Friday's game, Wichita State, Marshall. We can put a bet in on one of those two teams being the most to score. And have you already taken a bet on that yet?
No, those don't go up till tonight.
Okay. All right. So make sure to check that out tonight at CG Technology. Yeah, for Matt Holt, I'm Drew Martin. We'll be back next week. Thanks for the time, Matt. I know you're really busy this week, so just keeping it at 20 minutes here. Give Matt a follow on Twitter at Matthew Holt VP. Matt, thanks for tuning in. I'm Drew Martin.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Drew. Best of luck, everybody. Take care. Got to run, man. Have a good one.